Good morning. It's a warm morning. Spring is approaching. I think I need to downgrade from this coat. It's really hot, but I'm not gonna lie. I've got myself really hot under here, so I don't really want to take this off because the slight breeze is gonna kill me. But it's time to downgrade from this coat. I think this coat is more for your dramatic weather. It's been a good coat since I've got it in the sale. Because usually when there's a coat in a sale, it's because of a reason. And I've been waiting for that reason to kick in. I think it was like, it should have been 100 and something, and I think I got it for like 20 or something ridiculous. Anyway, Valentine's Day has just been, and we don't really celebrate Valentine's Day in my house. Two reasons for that. The first one being, we don't need gifts to show each other that we love one another, and the second reason is we don't really buy into that sort of stuff anyway. We don't do pancake day. We barely even celebrate Christmas anymore. And to be fair, in our relationship we have plenty of opportunities to enjoy life, because you start to see that Christmas and birthdays and Valentine's Day, the days that people mark on the calendar for people to have breathers, for people who aren't really enjoying life. That day comes and they feel they can get something from it. It's like people work all week and then they go get hammered on the weekend. It's a bit like that. But me and my partner, we don't live like that, so we don't really need these days. We have, we buy each other things throughout the year. We buy each other things without even mentioning it. If I see something online, I'm like, all right, I'll get her that. If she sees something, she's like, oh, would you like this? And we usually pull our resources together to enjoy life. There's no that person's making more money, so that person owes me this person I deserve a watch, I deserve that. We usually put our money into a pot, and we're like, we could buy each other an expensive spa day. She could buy me a watch. I don't like watches, by the way, but she could buy me a new jacket, or books, whatever. But if we don't do that and put it together, we could go on a little trip, or we could go off exploring somewhere in England. So that's why we don't really celebrate Valentine's Day. And I always find Valentine's Day fascinating. One, because when I was younger, I sadly bought into that. When I was younger, I didn't have much guidance when it came to relationships, and I was, if you like, I was kind of being strung along. I was madly in love with my first relationship, and she was one of those people where whatever everything had to be by the book, and whatever I bought or something, even when I gave her the gift, it didn't feel enough, it didn't feel right. And it was always like I was chasing. I was always kind of groveling, and then as I got a bit older, I dated somebody else, and then luckily she snapped me out of that. She's like, look, some women are going to want that. If women, as there's a really good YouTuber at the moment who's talking about this, that if a woman feels she can manipulate you, she will always walk all over you. Women want to be with a guy they feel they can't manipulate. She basically snapped me out of it, and then it got me into this phase of life where I was able to attract people they don't need Valentine's Day for validation. What they want is your honesty, because I would give my honesty and my passion and emotional support, etc., to my first relationship, but it was never enough. And I think as we tend to do, we tend to look back at our exes, and I think I can see slight regret that she realised that I was the person who was going to give her all that stuff, and now she doesn't really have that in her life, because people don't value, we take from one another, and we claw at one another, and we become quite self. People don't value what they've really got from one another. So on this side of life, of being able to date somebody who all they want from me is for me to live my potential, and for me to provides safety and security and fulfillment to her. That's my end of the bargain. And because I can do that automatically, I am not even showing up in the relationship. I am just myself. So therefore, it works. If I was to mock, which I do, if I was to mock Valentine's Day, there's no thing where she secretly wants a gift. She really doesn't care, and she enjoys the fact that I'm mocking it because I am fulfilling her emotional support in other ways, which is what a relationship really is. But when I look around at my friends, so I have I won't really call them friends anymore, but I know of people what I used to be connected to who have extremely toxic relationships, extremely flawed relationships, where the guy will completely control the friends she can see, completely control her vacation, her schedule, and will trick her by doing these extravagant gifts on Valentine's Day, wine, cooking them meals, roses, chocolate, to cover up the fact that he is manipulating and not providing the emotional support. And then but he secretly wants gratification from that, and because she is so broken, and because she herself has toxicities, she hypes up this guy for doing this and posts about it on social media, where 50 or 60 people like the post, and then you start going a bit crazy in your own head, because you're like, well, I know the truth, I know this relationship is flawed, I know you're both equally bad to each other, I know you're both toxic, I know you're both using each other, I know you've created something impure, and I know these people behind closed doors be laughing at my relationship, because the problem is with this sort of thing is there are a bunch of women who are not really exactly friends of my girlfriend, but they're work colleagues or whatever, who will judge me for not buying her a gift, or they'll ask her what gifts I've bought, or even on my side, my own parents will be like, oh, so what are you going to do for your fiance on Valentine's Day? And I'll say nothing, and then they'll go, well, she's going to expect something. I'm like, no, in your relationship you expect something. My relationship isn't like that. My relationship is more pure, and that's obviously a bit egotistical, me saying that my relationship is that, because there is the other side of it. Like, if you do want to buy something for your significant other on Valentine's Day, it's completely fine. It doesn't mean your relationship's broken. I'm not saying that, but when I look around and I see how many people who do have broken relationships and do have these flawed relationships, and they're buying each other gifts and they're posting it and they're getting likes, you realize that you're living in this sort of fictitious society where people don't know what a real relationship is. They don't know what the real values are, and they don't feel love. They're not giving love. They're not capable of giving love. So that brings us to the question of, is it better being alone? And I can answer this in two parts. I think the first part is, I think fundamentally, I think we're all alone. I think we drift through life hoping we can connect to people, and we hope we can and we hope we can achieve the things we want to achieve. But in achieving the things we want to achieve, they're usually quite selfish pursuits. It's usually, I've always wanted to drive this car in Rome. I've always wanted to keep a journal. I've always wanted to go skydiving. These are usually quite selfish pursuits, as they're almost quite tick boxes. But we usually, if I was to go through how many times I really connect to somebody every single year regarding my fiance, I'd say I would probably connect to somebody genuinely once a year. When I really meet somebody and we, like a stranger, we really feel like we're on the same page, and we really talk about life, and we're able to share different cultures and different experiences, and it really feels a bit like that lost in translation thing, where I'm never going to see this person again, they disappear off into the crowd. I probably get that once a year, that real genuine human connection. And then it's back into just nodding to people at supermarkets, doing things like this, where obviously I've got followers, so thank you, but I don't know you guys. And then I have these superficial relationships with my parents and my family, where I'm just sitting there and filling in a box, and I have a superficial relationship with some of my friends because, you know, they're like, oh, what are you up to? But because we're secret into competition with one another, I have to sort of lie a little bit because I don't want to be the person who makes them feel bad about themselves, even though that's their own problem. And obviously finding genuine good friends is extremely hard. So and in a more philosophical point of view, we drift through life as islands, really. We are fundamentally lonely creatures, and we are, you know, as we make our way through the world, our opinions and our views change, and we discover things for ourselves. And when we discover that thing, it doesn't really include everybody else, because we go to like a diner or a cafe and we find a new coffee flavor we like, or we find a new book we like, or find a new film we like, and that usually excludes everybody else. And then we usually get excited about that product or the whatever it is, and we usually excuse me, we try and get other people to enjoy this. You know, we'll impose ourselves on people and we'll go, read this book, try this coffee, but because they're on their own little journey, they don't want to do that. So we're all kind of disconnected islands, and we can all sort of, I guess, connect through a relative feeling and a subconscious. So we are, at the end of the day, always going to be alone. We're always going to, when we die, we're going to die alone. Even if we die with our family around, our last thoughts are going to be ours. And you know, when we start getting up there, as soon as if we start living our life, you find yourself, you disconnect from your family, and you're at school and you get like 20 friends, and you have your family, and then you get a job and you lose your friends, you get some more friends but not really your friends, and then your family sort of disappear, and people die and people move, and you eventually approach the end. This is a very cheerful video. So I think what I would say is, if you do believe being alone is better, I think you already are alone. I think we are already alone. I think there is absolute solitude and beauty in being alone. I love being alone. I've always been a lone wolf. I've always had my opinion. My opinion. When you have an opinion, and it's quite a nuanced opinion, you find people they will. You know, I made a video last week talking about how maybe the world isn't as bad as people make out, and of course that's going to attract people what are going to criticize that because I'm attacking something they truly believe that the world is ending to oblivion, and that's fine. And you have those opinions, and those opinions sort of separate you from other people. But I generally do think you do need somebody. And I think finding that somebody is the hard part, but I think it starts when you start being genuine. I think when you start being serious with people, and you have to push away everybody to find that person. It's a bit like you need the small numbers. Like, you do need one good friend, a solid partner. You just need those things. You don't need your family. If your family are a black sheep and you don't need them, if you're in a toxic relationship, get rid. You have to remove all those things so then you can find somebody genuine. And those people are out there. Those people exist. Maybe you're yourself. Maybe you are the genuine person, but everybody around you is clutching you and making it as if you appear non-genuine, and people can't get to you. But once you do start to speak your truth, and once you start to stand up for yourself, and once you start to be the person you want to be, dress how you want to be, live how you want to be, you will attract somebody who is attracted to that. And they might not be the same as you, but they'll have that genuine spark. They'll be nice, they'll be kind, they'll be passionate, they'll be considerate. And then that's when you find that somebody. And I think it is important to generally find that somebody, because life is tough and you're going to get battered, and you need somebody looking out for you. You need somebody there, you really do. Last week I'll make a video about this soon. I suffer from anxiety really bad, and I had probably one of my most serious anxiety attacks in a long time. I basically convinced myself I was dying. That's how crazy this anxiety attack was. And anybody who has the real depression, I've got the real depression. That's no disrespect to anybody who's got, whatever, because obviously you can have different forms of depression, etc. But I've got it runs in my family, it's affected my family. My family have been tormented by depression, especially on the male side. So when that kicks in for me, I see no reason. I'm a quite smart fellow. I see no reason. So I genuinely thought, basically, I had some sort of cold symptoms. What didn't quite. They were very odd colds, and so I've never been ill like this. I had sort of like this weird headache, and my vision was going funny, and my hands were feeling numb, and I genuinely thought, because I was having anxiety already, and the depression kicked in, that I was dying. And I convinced myself I was dying. I obviously Googled my symptoms, and I'd gone down this whole rabbit hole. I was living in this very dark world, and it was my fiance who brought the truth to me. She would say to me, "You're obviously not dying," and I would say, "But what about this?" And then she would go, "You're not dying," and I'd go, "Yeah, but what about this?" And then she'd go, "No, you're not dying." And then it was after going through, being around her, because she was working for 3 or 4 days, didn't really see her, but then she came back and I got to see her for about 4 days, and just being around her, it snapped me out of it. And I was able, in a way, to survive that because I had somebody around me. So you do need somebody watching you, and you will find the world is quite rewarding, and there are people out there who are genuinely going to help you. If you are feeling alone, you feel like you don't have anybody, you have this video, you have me. Obviously, I'm somebody on the internet, but I'm somebody who understands what it's like to be very alone, understand what it's like to, I haven't always had a Valentine, I haven't always had people in my life, and you have to reach out to people, and you have to find people what you like, find people what are talking sense, and you have to have those in your life. So my verdict of, do we need to date, do we need people? Yes, because we're already alone anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm ending the video there. Please don't think this is I am a cynical person, but this isn't cynicism to Valentine's Day. I hope you have had a good Valentine's Day, because it is important to spend time with somebody. Look, me and my fiance, we did something as well. We went to a cafe, and there's an Asian shop we like, and we bought some Asian food, and me and my girlfriend, we get off on planning things. So we're planning like a car boot we're going to do with that sort of relationship. I guess our love language is building things together. So it's not like we didn't do anything for Valentine's Day. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying those real genuine moments, we paper over them with structure and nonsense like this. Okay, have a good week. Ciao.